Camera's live. Camera's live.
Go to Mr. Bishop.
I've been waiting for this.
Did you burn it? Did you?
I didn't need. Because we only have not so well water at work. And the pop machine doesn't work, so it's been a long, hot, thirsty day.
For an exorbitant fee, I would spend water.
That's nice.
I'm starting to wonder when my checks are gonna be made out of a latex product down there, so I don't know that they can afford it.
Oh, really?
Mr. Larson? Are you sitting out?
Huh?
Are you sitting out?
You're on.
Why? Well, I was on the zoning board.
Yeah, the Board of Appeals is made up of the council, so it's just regular council for the appeals meeting.
You're lucky I came.
I know, that's why I'm feeling lucky.
That shocked me. I'm gonna have to go home, take a hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. This way again.
It's open, it's unlocked, yes.
You're currently 1 minute over start time.
Oh my goodness. Let's go ahead and call to order this zoning board of appeals meeting. May we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Wales,
Here.
Bishop,
Here.
Dunham. Here. Larson.
Here.
Miller. Here. Nato is absent. White.
Here.
Request a motion to open public hearing. The variance request.
So move.
Support. Motion and support. All those in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing is now open. Request is from Habitat for Humanity for a variance at 610 North Coral Street. Sir, do you want to lead this?
I will. Good evening. The village council also acts as the ZBA, the zoning board of appeals. And that is the role that you're taking tonight, is as the ZBA. Just coincidentally, it happens to be staffed with the same individuals as our own council. You're going to be entertaining a variance request tonight because the zoning administrator, that'd be me, had to do his due diligence and deny a zoning application because the property was too small for the intended structure. The structure still meets setbacks. This is a home that Habitat for Humanity wants to erect, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The home would meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance as far as square footage, correct?
Yes.
It meets the zoning requirements as far as setbacks, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having them attest to this. But unfortunately, and through no fault of your own, the property, the lot is not large enough according to our zoning ordinance, is it?
No, it's not.
We'll try to rectify that tonight.
Excellent.
Take about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is not a self-inflicted hardship by this applicant. They want to build a home on a lot that is too small according to our zoning ordinance. However, the home does meet the square footage requirements, as you've heard them say, and it also meets the setbacks.
Yes, yes, it does. And I did bring a set of plans of something we're proposing. I mean, I don't know if you want
You know,
to get into
I
that.
think we're good at this point.
Okay.
So the matter comes down to, does this body want to grant a variance to allow this home to be built on this lot? And in spite of acting as the zoning administrator and initially denying the application because it didn't match our zoning, it would be my recommendation to do so. Does anyone have any questions for me about the process or the procedures?
This is the spot zoning.
No, this is a variance. We're not actually changing the zoning district. This is a variance with this property.
What is the difference between the lot size and the ordinance requirement?
Go ahead, you have that information.
I believe it's less than 2,000 square feet. I believe the existing lot is around 6,500 square feet, and I believe it requires this 87 square feet.
Thank you.
I don't have questions with the process. Can we ask questions with the application? Who owns the property? And when was it purchased?
It was donated to the best of my knowledge.
I'm happy that day, but I was only 2 years ago. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So, my friends. And what will be the square footage of the plans?
The proposed building would be like, I think it's just over 1,100 square feet. 3 bedroom, 1.5.
How many did you say?
3 bedroom, 1.5. Square footage is, I think it's 1,100. It's just over 1,100.
So it's very long.
It's long and narrow.
And it faces Squirrel Street.
It faces Squirrel Street with a single car garage in the front. Do you want to show you a picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it something like the one we already got?
I'm sorry,
No, we don't have this one.
I don't know if I can put it on a table or something like that.
We will mount the papers.
Sorry. So, I think you can see it's kind of long and narrow, so this would be Coral Street here. Some elevations would come.
And the garage is forward facing here.
Yes, with a kind of a covered porch and a entry door.
There's a lot of houses like that with those, so trust it.
And the length is,
It's with the garage, it's 68, just over 68.
and the 10-foot, sorry, forgetting the verbiage here, the setback.
The best of my knowledge, it's 10 feet on either side for setback, 25 feet at the front, 25 feet at the rear.
So 10 feet from house to neighboring property line.
Neighboring property line, 10 feet.
One side would be the road.
The road's up here. two properties on either side.
It's a corner lot, isn't it?
No,
It's right down the street from my house, it's between two homes.
Oh, I thought I just drove past that.
we just had the lot cleared also, so it had a bunch of debris on it, a bunch of dead trees.
Is that lot that's cleared?
Yeah. I can leave these up for reference if anyone wants to look at it. I also have a picture. I actually just took this today and printed off. This is a home that we're currently building. It's up in Maple City, but just kind of, it's not the same floor plan, but it's kind of generally what the kind of type of homes that we're building. So,
So you're gonna be that same style?
pretty much the same style. This is floor plan we've been using for the
That's
last.
gonna fit on that lot?
Long and narrow.
Yeah, that particular picture is not the same floor plan, but it is, as far as the, the shape of it and everything else, it's similar to what we're doing. And, normally, vinyl siding, slab on grade. Very, very efficient. The homeowners really enjoy them. Like them. They fit in with the neighborhood really well and provide some quality housing for the year.
They are. It's not good work.
Thank you. I've only been with Habitat for a year, but Wendy's been doing it a long time. She's our executive director.
Yeah. My neighbor's house is a house. It's a nice long block.
We appreciate the work you do.
Was there any public comment this evening?
Yeah. Anthony Plum, I'm the resident at 604 North Coral Street, which is a neighboring property. I do have some concerns. First, I'm not against Habitat for Humanity. I support it, what you guys do, but for over 40 years, this property has remained vacant. For that reason of the variance of being too small. The previous owners of my house, we and my in-laws, tried to buy it. Whoever owned it wanted too much money for the half lot. Unfortunately, it's a half lot because of my house, because it was set wrong years ago back in the 70s. I've been offered to buy it. First time, financially couldn't do it. New home, new wife, new kids. We couldn't do it at the time. Second time, they just wanted too much money. I believe at that time it was Gosling, Guzbeck, survey company out of Traverse City that owns it at the time. Just couldn't do it. Now we have one Habitat Humanity house to be built. Again, the variance, my fears are it's going to decrease my property value. The length of the house, you're going to be looking in my backyard. I have a teenage daughter, so I'm concerned about her. Where's the driveway? I understand it's probably on my other side, towards my other neighbor, which she does have concerns also. But I told her I was coming, so she's elderly, so she didn't really want to come. So let's see. Privacy I'm concerned about. The house design, it's going to be long, so that means the windows are going to be looking into my backyard, looking into my neighbor's backyard. Let's see. What else do I have? My concern. Are you aware that a water line runs through it from the village to my former neighbor adjacent to me? Their water meter is in my front yard, so that line passes through the back. That would have to probably be removed. Does that mean dig up my front yard? Does that mean for the village to remove the water line or reroute it? What the cost is to that? Unfortunately, Habitat for Humanity was given this because Gosling and Guzbeck couldn't sell it. They can't do anything with it. So they pawned it off on Habitat for Humanity as a donation for a tax write-off, knowing that nothing can be done with it. So I am totally against this. Don't want to see a house built for it. I think I've left a couple messages with Habitat for Humanity. to offer to buy the property from them, but I have not gotten a call back. Not sure where I'm directed. I'm just dialing a number and I don't know who's getting the message. So, those are my concerns, and I think concerns of the other neighbors that, whose property surrounds that piece of property. So that's it. Thank you.
That's why I'm here. He said it all. We live on the back side, and my husband works in the oil field. He tried to buy it too, apparently. So everything he just said, we agree with.
And I believe it's her property that the water line, there are meters in my front yard that runs to their house.
What is your name, please?
April Wayman.
Thank you.
Would something like a privacy fence make a difference in this at all?
Oh, yes, and
Yeah. And actually for both.
I mean, I have a fence already up, but who's to say that whoever moves in, they don't like to look at my fence? Am I gonna have to take it down? There's a lot of ifs. It all depends on the person.
It's usually families that move into it.
Right.
That does for,
Right.
People with children and stuff like that.
Yeah, but, otherwise, you also, it's a small lot. If you have children moving into it,
Where
you
they
want to,
play at.
you want a yard to play on, you got the village, the traffic flies down our street. They're gonna be playing in the front yard.
I know, I live at Coral and Division.
Okay, yeah, so,
I know how they drive.
yeah, they fly down the street, even with the yield sign there, they still blow the yield signs. Without that, if it's a long house, that doesn't leave you much of a backyard.
I do know we need housing.
I
Like
agree
where
with
I
that.
where I work right now, people drive from Boeing, Alpena, to come here.
Yep.
And they cannot find housing.
I work at Boeing, and we are having the same issue. We're investing in housing, actually with communities, trying to build, affordable homes for people that we can bring in to work. But I feel there are other lots in the village that would be more suitable for this house that are staying vacant. They could be cleared out.
That's up to the owners. though.
That's up to the owners, yes, but there are other lots, right?
There are other lots that are just like this one as well.
Right.
Yes. Not big.
How long did Gosling have the property?
Yeah.
I don't really know the history of the property.
I can definitely understand that it is a very narrow lot, and I think that the plans look beautiful. I am very close on one side to my neighbor, and I wish I was not that close. Driving through the other properties in that neighborhood, there's a feel of more room to breathe, and I know that we do desperately need housing, but I think this might be too much of a variance request. Is about 25% below the requirement of square footage, so I appreciate you being very sharing.
Thank you.
if I can just share with the board, the zoning is not emotional. The zoning is pretty cut and dry. That's why we have it in place. And when somebody comes in for a variance, there's three things that we have to determine. And that was this of their own fault? Did you do something to create this? Is this a blanket variance that can be applied throughout everything, which would not be a variance, then it would be a change in the ordinance, we'd have to go through that. And then is there gonna be any detriment? You guys take that into consideration, and whether or not we consider detriment to be somebody looking over our backyard fence, or whether we consider detriment to be a hazard. That's the only play we have here. So, do you have any further?
I
zoning?
No. MCL 125.3604 says that the zoning board of appeals has the authority to grant non-use variances related to construction, structural design, structures related to dimensional requirements and other non-use related standards. So it is certainly within your wheelhouse to consider this. That's all I answer.
Does anybody have any questions?
Would we then start considering all other properties near this size for housing?
Future zoning addresses that.
Sorry,
I think the future zoning addresses it.
the future zoning would move by that.
The zoning ordinances that were about to chapter for the future. Those are more specified, and that loosens up the qualifications. It doesn't loosen them up this much. I did go look at it to see if this is something that was coming up around the corner. If it would be like, yeah, the same as okay today, because it's gonna be okay tomorrow. But it doesn't, it actually still doesn't fit in that classification. Still doesn't fit into the new zone, so this would be a true variance. This would be something that is happening in mass, and it would also be precedent. So if there are others that have this, there are several small properties that are too small to go on. Do we want to open that up to the future? There's been a lot of talk about, time frames, but our lot size is not really, we can't, so those are just things to think about.
So do you remember about what the new zoning is expected to have for square footage?
It varies depending on what zone it is. So this is a blanket residential zoning is what we have, where we have the traditional zoning, single family zoning, and new code of ordinances. And the traditional one requires that larger, almost double lot size, and you can't reduce those lots now. Whereas the smallers have opened up for smaller homes as well as lot sizes. Is there any more discussion for the public hearing?
Welcome to the world of zoning administration.
I would take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on, we'll consider action on that variance request.
Well, since how nobody's jumping to do anything, I move that we grant the variances requested.
Motion to grant variance. Do I have a second? Support. Motion and support. Open
Now
for
we can
discussion.
discuss it.
My only concern is the neighbors. That is my main concern. How they feel and stuff. I mean, I know I can see my neighbors. I have a privacy fence. I can see their windows and see everything that goes on in their backyards with a privacy fence. I don't have little kids anymore. They're all grown, but they grew up there. I think that's anywhere you live in a subdivision, you want to have that.
I know how hard it is to find a house here in Kalkaska because I spent 8 months as being homeless and getting out of the military. So it's very rough. It's especially if there's a family that you live by and everything like this take care of. I spent 8 months homeless trying to find a place to live here in Kalkaska, and it's not easy. So yeah, housing is a big problem here, and I'll leave it at that.
Anything, Mr. Larson? That's why we're here.
Well, I don't see it. You need to do a variance on it. If it doesn't fit in the property, it doesn't fit in the property. It's actually a zoning problem. That's what it is. You call it variance, call it whatever you want, but it doesn't meet zoning. So it doesn't meet zoning, it shouldn't go in. I can't believe there isn't any other property in this town that would meet. I've seen a few lots around that were for sale, and they're sure bigger than that. And trying to be ideal for what you're doing, instead of trying to cram it in there. And you've got neighbors that don't like the idea either. So, personally, I think you'll look somewhere else for it, unless you already bought the property.
They own the property or not. It was given to them.
Or make something smaller that fits in there with the requirements.
Can I speak or?
Sure.
I mean, it definitely fits, it fits in there. I mean, it fits in as far as the setbacks and everything else go, but,
Doesn't meet the square footage though.
it meets the square footage. I mean, not the lot square footage, I get that, but there's not a lot of, places around. We own this one, we're just trying to meet housing needs. We have a huge, we service veterans, we service, a lot of single moms with, kids that, need a place to live, and, we're trying to provide that, so. That's, obviously why we're here, and, just many needs, and we're trying to service, Kalkaska counties and Traverse counties and New counties, and, I just, I understand that there's, I get that, when a house being built there, when I was a kid, I enjoyed the vacant lots, that I grew up in a neighborhood, and I enjoyed that, but, I mean, it's a lot that was potentially could be built on, and we hadn't known that, we bought it, and, I guess it's probably to see if we can work something out, and make it work. I don't think we're opposed to helping with a fence, or, that's something that would be helpful, and I think it's something we're talking about. We're definitely about kind of trying to be reasonable with neighbors and everything else, and, if that's my appease and help you out.
There's already a fence, but like she said, it's, you can look out your window and see over your fence and see what your neighbors are doing.
Yeah.
It's about privacy.
But it's also about a neighborhood. Because I'm a single mother, I raised 4 kids here. I had to live with my mom because I couldn't get a house. So I understand single mothers. And I understand how hard it is. And as a single mother, when I first started living up here, I didn't have a man around to protect my children or worry about the neighbors if they were village or whatnot. It's just something you have to deal with when you live in a neighborhood.
I've seen him bad stuff, and then
Yeah.
I've worked EMS here for 13
Yeah,
years, so.
Same way, I mean, I understand, I've seen what can happen and stuff like that, but I feel for people that are trying to find a home and can't do it on their own.
Yeah, I think we are all very aware of our need for housing. I think we also are aware that we're not crammed yet. There are places to develop, and I think crowding this one neighborhood because the property was donated would negatively affect the neighborhood for the sake of one house.
And would you be willing to sell that property to take the money to buy a different piece of property? I don't know how all this works.
That would be a board of directors question to ask them if that's something that they want to do.
The other thing I'm just gonna interject really quickly also is we're at a point, kind of in our build schedule and everything else, you know, we either have to shift gears and build somewhere else, and, you know, and I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, we have a kind of a break in our schedule. We're trying to get something going. You know, obviously we have this property. We're trying to make this work here for you folks and help this community out. And,
I have a family too that's eligible, that's going through the process, of course, of doing some applicants. I can't say for sure because I don't want to identify the specifics about the family until they totally, you know, we have the property available, bring it in. But it's probably something that you all know, I can tell you that, because of course they live and work here in the unfortunate situations, I mean, that helps. I'm concerned that the people are probably the able is that works through the workforce and is there. But as he said, we're trying to serve the community in the best ways that we can. I can't speak to the zoning, the square feet and the zoning aspect of it, but I can certainly speak to the need for housing. Without doubt.
We've got a lot of other issues with our neighborhood besides having a house on a smaller lot. We have tiny houses that are on even smaller lots that should be condemned. We have other houses that just need to be condemned, period. Trailers in the middle of the subdivision that have no business being there, which are more of a attraction on the value of property than putting a tiny house in. Housing is needed so badly in this village, in this county, it's not even funny. And everybody, for everything that has ever wanted to come here, has a not in my backyard attitude. I do understand the neighbors' concerns. I grew up in Detroit where the houses were as far as my arms reach. I could hear everything that was going on in my neighbor's house every single day. So I'm real happy to live up north now. But, you know,
Right,
there's
those
gotta
are
be a
all,
break somewhere.
those are all valid issues, but that's not what we're voting on today.
No, the voting is, does it meet the setbacks for the yard, which they can meet? They won't have a huge yard.
Right, it's 23%, the lot's 23% too small, and the house still meets requirements, so it's not a tiny house going down a little
Well, I
lot.
didn't say it was tiny lot, I said the lot was too small, but it meets the setbacks.
Right, but you mentioned a tiny house on the lot, it's not, it's,
No, I mentioned the other problems in the neighborhood
Yeah, there are tiny homes in the neighborhood that need to be condemned.
that do not meet square footage requirements in any way, shape, or form that have been grandfathered in for forever.
I mean, that's also responsibility. Just because something was done.
I'm speaking to the issue at hand. The house fits the setbacks. We need more housing. This is a variance request. It's not a blanket. We just have to decide if we're going to allow the variance or not. Do we need the house more than we need Habitat for Humanity to go back to the board and try to find another piece of property?
They get donated usually, but it's all rents and everything else.
This property hasn't sold for the amount of years that it was there. It was either too expensive or somebody wouldn't get off of it. And did I hear you say your house was misplaced on your lot when it was first built, and that's why that chunk of property was that way?
Yes, from my understanding, from my in-laws, was built in 72. Whoever built it, I'm not sure who built it, set it on the wrong piece of property. So
So there's a legacy issue of the property that's causing this issue in the first place.
Maybe that needs to be something we get looked into first.
That has no difference on the variance request that's here today, though. Much like many things we deliberate on this village, we're dealing with stuff that was either kicked down the road for another time or just wasn't cared about in the first place.
Certainly. Bishop,
yes.
Donald? No. Larson?
No.
Excuse me, Miller?
Yes.
Needham is absent. White?
Yes.
Wales?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So. with that, The variances are requested and granted. So as you go forward, I would just ask that you be very amicable with your neighbors, considering they're the ones that are making the biggest sacrifice here, and maybe do whatever you can to
Definitely.
get those windows out of the weird backyard, or, worship them a little bit. You don't have your final plans drawn up, so, I mean, those are just your rough sketch, so. When you're doing that, maybe we guys,
I'm good.
The administrator will sign the zoning application and you go on to the building department tax.
Fantastic. Thank you all very much for your time.
Is there any further actions the neighbors could take?
this is the Board of Appeals.
I mean, through court?
Absolutely.
Sure.
It would appear the applicants are not going to wait for that process, so lead along the way.
All right, nothing further, we're adjourned. You just can't call them.
Oh, it's Monday.
Yeah, but